First guy comes in, and this guy's apparently didn't come in to rob the place as far as we know. Is actually another store owner who moved in recently. He's coming into your screen right there. He's going to walk into basically a grocery store here, and he's going to pull out a knife and then slice that guy's throat. Oh. Okay, now he's going to come after the owner, and look at this. Is brutal. This is unbelievable. And then somebody else, that Good Samaritan, comes in to try to, I mean, look at how he's slashing with the knife. It's unbelievable. And then the owner, Osman Tutur, pulls out a gun and says, "End of this."
Wow. He had great aim.
He did, man. Usually the problem is when you, especially after you've been attacked like that, and there's somebody else nearby, it's really tough to shoot a gun like that.
Right.
But
You're so discombobulated.
But he hit him.
Right.
He hit him, and he stopped the attack. Now, the guy who did the attack here literally brought a knife to a gunfight. Okay? And so, but he didn't know that, right? He thought he was bringing a knife to a no fight. And come to find out that that's not how Osman was going to roll.
So do you know what the guy's motives were for bringing the knife to the gunfight?
The guy being pictured here, Osman, he's the owner. He says he has no idea. The guy moved in a little while back to another store. They never had any problems with him at all. And he's all of a sudden he comes in one day trying to stab everybody, as you just saw there. So it is totally random. I don't know if the guy has a mental problem. Obviously, he has some sort of massive problem. But you know, you gotta be. Look, we showed you this video. We showed you a video in America where a Turkish store was somebody was trying to rob it, and then the store owner grabbed the rifle from the hands of the guy who was trying to attack him, and beat him up. And look at this guy. He's coming. You know. He's limping. He's hurt. I mean, he got cut by the knife a couple of times, but he's still got the gun and he's regulating.
My God, that's an incredible video.
Okay, the lesson of the story: don't go try to rob a Turkish store.
Or if you do, make sure you bring a gun, not a knife.
Well, no. Remember the other guy who brought the gun? Got the gun taken away from him.
Oh, that's so true.
Okay, don't try to rob him. Don't try to knife him. Don't go into a Turkish store. You're going to come out much worse for the wear.
You know, that video, though, had 3 amazingly strong Turks. Okay, First of all, the guy who got his throat slashed, who seemed like he was completely unharmed by it.
Okay, now here's the interesting story about that. Hold on to your other 2. So his name is Ali Gök, okay? And he went and took his shirt off. I mean, he had enough, sense on him. And he wrapped it around his neck to make sure that he stopped the bleeding. And then he didn't wait for the ambulance. He somehow got himself to the hospital in 4 or 5 minutes. He'd already lost a tremendous amount of blood.
Oh, my God.
Okay? And the doctor said, thank God you're overweight. Because if you weren't, he would have cut the artery. Okay? But as it is, he cut through the fat and didn't quite get the artery enough. Okay? And this guy has a tremendous sense of humor, Ali Gök, the guy who got his throat cut. He's like, oh, I never thought I'd be so happy to be fat in my life. See that? Don't mess with fat Turks. That's another lesson you get from this. And yeah, you're right. So he's tough, right? Then the kid comes in, or the younger guy comes in, and the guy's slashing away, and he jumps on him.
That's incredible. I mean, I know for a fact that I wouldn't do that. And that guy had no fear. Like, he went right in to protect the store owner. That's incredible.
Right. And then the store owner who regulated. Okay. So, now, look, a lot of gun rights advocates will turn and say, okay, you libs, what happened now? Okay? I got to be fair. It doesn't always work out that way, and 9 out of 10 times it might be a disaster. But you got to give them that one. Having the gun nearby, in that case, it wound up helping.
Reno has this story. New attack.
The surveillance video captures it all. 4 suspects, armed and dangerous, attempting to invade a Southwest Side home.
The victim was able to get back inside his house, close his door, semi-barricade it, reach for a weapon that was easily accessible.
That's when you hear gunfire. The 4 men retreat, get into their car, but not before the homeowner's bullets hit the windshield. Pima County Sheriff's officials say the homeowner has surveillance cameras installed all around his house.
And that was just for his own home security.
People living in the neighborhood heard all the gunshots and saw the aftermath.
Some stray bullets even hit a home across the street.
I was asleep when around noon Thursday, and I heard gunshots. Then I heard about 4 or 5 more shots go out in rapid succession. Then I heard his car squeal off.
I am very watchful from where we live, and I think everybody has a right to defend their property.
Pima County detectives did find the suspect's vehicle at a home near Cardinal and Valencia, but the 4 men are still on the run. One of the suspects has been identified as 23-year-old Jesus Mendeville. It's believed he was shot in the arm. The 3 other men are all described as Hispanic males between 17 and 25 years old. Anyone with information is asked to call 88 Crime. With Balance News, David Marino, News 4.
And now on Today in Florida, a store clerk turning the tables on a would-be robber. He pulled out a gun on the criminal and started shooting. As 7's Vanessa Ruiz shows, cameras caught the whole thing.
Okay, stop right here, right here. Stop right there, right there.
Surveillance video showing the moment police say 24-year-old Alexander Brown walks into this convenience store, a bandana covering his face, a loaded gun in hand. He approaches the register, shouting, demanding money, but behind the counter, Freddie Almaty's quick-thinking 25-year-old son, Sammy.
He walked in, he trying to kill him. He not coming here just to rob. The guy, he was ready. The gun is ready. The bullet.
But Brown meeting his match in the young clerk who spotted the would-be robber moments before he entered the snappy convenience store in Deerfield Beach Friday night. Sammy reaching behind the counter and grabbing his own weapon, shooting Brown once in the jaw. Sammy's father says his son did what he had to do.
When he see it, he came straight up and he put the gun in his face. He's not coming to rob, he's coming to kill and rob, you know? We don't know what's in his mind, you know?
In the video, you could see Brown laying on the ground moments after being shot. After it all happened, Freddie and his family, who've owned Snappies for about 10 years, say they know their loved one literally dodged a bullet.
Thanks God, you know? Thanks God, you know, we survived it, you know? It could be worse. Yeah. Could be one of us here is not here, you know, today.
Well, BSO telling 7 News that the suspect in this case, Alexander Brown, is in North Broward Medical Center, and he is expected to recover. Once out of the hospital, he will be charged with armed robbery, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, and also possession of an altered firearm. It's worth noting that Brown was released from state prison a year ago exactly this month. He was there also for burglary. Reporting from Deerfield Beach, I'm Vanessa Ruiz, Today in Florida.
Spartanburg County Sheriff says an armed and dangerous man is on the loose tonight after his accomplice was shot and killed this morning. Sheriff Chuck Wright says 2 masked men entered a Waffle House in Chesney about 1 o'clock in the morning and ordered the customers inside to the floor, the employees to the back room. Sheriff Wright says one of those customers had a concealed weapons permit. He says he then pulled his gun and told the 2 men to wait for cops to show up. The sheriff says one of the robbers, 19-year-old Dante Williams, then turned his gun toward the diner, and that's when the customer shot and killed Williams.
This is another example of how a CWP may save your life. And it's very unfortunate that a 19-year-old young man lost his life over this. And there's no question about it. We're not celebrating that we lost a 19-year-old young man that lived right here in this county. But I am thankful that nobody else was hurt.
And according to the coroner, Williams turned 19 today. Wright says the second robber managed to get away after struggling with the customer. The man who shot Williams will not face any charges because he was acting in self-defense. If you have any information on the other suspected robber, you can call Crime Stoppers, and the number right there on your screen, 1-888-CRIME-SC.
My fellow Americans, the left's attack on assault weapons is back. There is no doubt that it's a tragedy when anyone takes the life of another without cause. But to blame assault weapons for these tragedies would be like, well, blaming airplanes for the 9/11 attacks. The problem lies with the perpetrator, not the tool used to commit the crime. The left is now screaming from the rooftops that there is no good reason for any American to own an assault weapon, that they're not good weapons for defense or for hunting. Frankly, they're missing the point. Take it from my philosophical guru and life coach, Ice-T.
You know, the right to bear arms is because that's the last form of defense against tyranny.
That's why fellow rapper Ice-T and I are in poppin' lockstep on gun control, regardless of any East Coast, West Coast rap rivalry. Well, if the advice of a couple of aging rappers isn't enough for you, how about these reasons? Number one, the Constitution. The libs are already saying Chuck's off his meds again, and he's back talking about that old outdated historical document, the Constitution. Doesn't he get it that it doesn't apply today? Sorry to break it to you, but as of right now, the Constitution is still the law of the land. And since we are a nation of laws, not men, we need to follow it carefully. Number two, the Second Amendment allows for assault weapons. The left argues that the Founding Fathers didn't even know what an assault weapon was. As usual, this argument's wrong again. To say that the Constitution limits the kinds of guns we can own would be like saying it also limits the kinds of religion people can practice. How would it be if some people thought you could practice Catholicism, but not Scientology? Our Founding Fathers wanted every citizen to be armed equal to the Army in case of takeover by a tyrannical government. They wanted us to have protection from them. How would things have been different in Nazi Germany had the people been armed? Think about the protesters that have been killed by their own government in Iran. An armed society would not have that problem. Number three, assault weapons act as a deterrent against foreign invasion. During World War II, the Emperor of Japan instructed his commanders to plan an invasion of America. He felt very empowered after Pearl Harbor and believed our military to be very weak, which at the time it was. The commander-in-chief of the Japanese Navy, Isoroku Yamamoto, told the emperor, and I quote, "You cannot invade the mainland of the United States. There would be a rifle behind every blade of grass." Notice, he did not talk about fearing the U.S. Army. It was the American people that he feared. Eventually, Yamamoto would stop trying to attack us and instead started selling us terrific fishing lures, which I'm a big fan of. It is the fact that there is a gun behind every blade of grass that prevents any other country from even thinking about invading our nation. Take away the assault rifles, and you have weakened that defense. Number four, there's already a ban on assault rifles. Well, you don't hear that very much, but there has been tight controls on assault rifles since 1934. Well, how can that be? The U.S. military defines an assault rifle as something that can fire intermediate powered cartridges on selective fire. For you girly men watching, that means automatic fire, like a machine gun. The left invented the term assault weapon to describe rifles that bear some similarity to real assault rifles, like this one. This way, they can make it against the law to own a gun that looks like an assault weapon. Really, is it against the law to look like something else? In that case, shouldn't Henry Waxman be arrested for resembling Ratatouille? Number five, handguns kill people too. Some nut jobs claim that assault weapons are too dangerous. Really? So you find a Glock 40 caliber is just to be a little dangerous? All guns are deadly in the wrong hands. And number six, we need the jobs. The gun industry employs 184,000 people. And these are good paying jobs averaging $45,000 a year. A ban on so-called assault weapons will result in laying off thousands of these workers. But of course, that's no big deal since we don't have an unemployment problem. Crazed criminals shooting up innocent people is a tragedy. But all the gun bans in the world will not stop them. Criminals will always find the weapons they need to carry out their crimes. The only people that will be going unarmed are the law-abiding citizens like you and me. When you hear people talk about banning assault weapons, know that the real assault weapon is the liberal media. They are attacking your constitutional rights. It's a slippery slope. First it will be assault weapons, then ammunition, then handguns, and on and on and on. I'm Chuck Woolery, trying to save the Constitution, one amendment at a time.
This is a SIG 550. It's designed to destroy anything standing within its 400-meter trajectory. And there are over 500,000 of them kept in Swiss homes. Guns and shooting are a strong Swiss tradition. Basic military training is mandatory for young men, and afterwards they're required to keep their weapon at home. Mark Heim is the Ticino representative for the lobby group Protel.
Basically, this was my father's military rifle, and of course he got to keep it when he was finished. I have my grandfather's rifle in the office, hanging on the wall. This was mine when I did service, which is quite an old one. It was introduced in 1957. Was used until 1990. And this is my son's. That's the current model. That's what's being used today. That's what we'll be using to shoot the Feldschießen today.
The Feldschießen, or Tiro Federale in Campagna as it's known in these parts, is an annual Swiss event, and it's also the largest shooting festival in the world. Roughly 200,000 people come out to target practice all across the country. Ammunition is provided by the government. Heim goes regularly to this range, and it's often a family affair.
It was organized by the government to have a very high state of readiness for the Swiss military and population. The target has always been that within 24 to 48 hours, Switzerland could mobilize a pretty large army, I mean, even by European standards.
But it wasn't the militia that sparked Heim's interest in guns as a young man. It was an unassuming trip to a Holocaust museum.
I was going through all the exhibits and the soap and the lampshades made of people's skin. And while I was looking, I heard a funny noise, and there was an old woman maybe 2 meters from me, and she was trying not to cry. She was sort of sobbing very quietly. She was holding it back. If she had been a few meters further away, I wouldn't have heard her. And she obviously had gone through that. That's when the whole impact of it hit me. And I promised myself I would never be in her situation. I would want to be free, never in a situation where somebody could, march us off to ovens or prisons or just take away our freedom. The key to freedom is the ability to be able to defend yourself. And if you don't have the tools to do that, then you are at the mercy of whoever wants to put you away. And the tools for that are